It's a very healthy part of selfish.
Oh, 100%.
That you have to have. It's just, that's why they tell you on the plane, put on your mask first.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then help your wife, your kid, your neighbor, whoever you're gonna help. Because it doesn't help if you wear yourself out. And
yeah, I know that in my mind. Like, if I think about that, I know it, but once I start going, I'm just so bad at it.
I constantly try to force her, like literally force her to take some time for herself.
Welcome to After Love, the official after show of Black Love. I'm Codie Elaine Oliver, director of the series and co-creator with my husband, Tommy. And we've all just watched Give and Take, an episode about really sacrifice and compromise. And we have two amazing couples here, Keith and Dionne, and Renece and Ephraim. And I'm excited to kind of dig into it. First off, how did you all feel watching yourselves talk about these things? With all your years and decades of marriage and experience.
Well, I felt a certain type of way because even though I said the things and, we were together and we talked about it, it just brought things up. It made me realize how immature and naive I was way back then and how much she sacrificed for me.
Well, we've had those main conversations when they're happening, but they're not continued conversations that we have. So we haven't had that conversation in a long time.
And you brought some things up.
He always looking at
But it made me really realize just how much she means to not only me, but our family and what we've built together. But I still feel terrible about the way that it was so about me at the time, right? It was about my career and I need this from you opposed to me being like, what do you need? And
we had to talk him off the ledge when the episode was over. His whole demeanor changed. I was like,
his whole demeanor changed when we were talking about it.
Right.
Like when we were talking about it, Ephraim kind of froze. But I appreciate though your vulnerability. You said right then, and you're saying it again now, I feel bad and I wish I could change that. And I think that younger folk, in 6 years of marriage, for example, we need to hear it.
Yeah, it's especially when you're in it for the long haul. Like we say all the time, we took divorce off the table. So this was it. If we're gonna be together, or we're gonna be together.
Yeah.
And just not being able to see and compromise that early in our relationship. As the older me looking back, it, like most of us in our lives, it haunts you. It haunts, like, wow, why couldn't I be wise and majestic like I am now back then? Right? But it's just like...
majestic anyway.
Right.
But he thinks he's majestic.
It's a thing, It makes you really realize and value the person that did the majority of the sacrificing so early.
What about you guys? What do you think, watching yourselves and watching them?
Well, I loved watching them. I really did. We were saying when we were talking about it, I was waiting. I mean, I was like, okay, we're fine, but I was waiting for the other couples to talk.
Yeah.
Because I understand your journey, and it's sometimes easy to make the step back because you can clearly see, and for me it was like, well, he has the larger income. So
same exact conversation with myself.
He has a larger income. I really love being a mother. I still love being a mother. And honestly, when he was willing to take on the big work and I could really spend the time with my girls, I wanted it, So there was a sacrifice career-wise for me, but also for him, he has to work so hard to maintain the life that he wants to have, the career he wants to have, and the lifestyle that I want to have. And I know and I recognize that it's a really grand life that we've created, but he's helped to facilitate. Yeah. Now, watching what I try and keep it positive. So I I realized, you think about people saving themselves, and I feel like he helped me to save myself because I had so many issues surrounding codependency and like not taking care of myself and being angry at other people for not recognizing that I needed something from them. And he would say, you gotta work on that, you gotta work on it. It's not me, it's not me, it's not me. And so if he didn't have his struggles, I don't think I would have made it. I mean, we've been doing the work. He's a great guy.
See, I don't even recognize myself. I was really kind of enthralled watching certainly Black couples' willingness to have this conversation out loud with somebody else on TV. But more than that, I was glad that it's broadly broadcast. But mostly, what looked to me that after this, when the lights go out, you'll still continue to have this conversation.
Yes.
As you said, divorce is not on the table, and you're either going to live with me or you're going to live with me. And that's and it's different
Mr.
than
One-liner.
different than when in my parents' day, the willingness to stick together had to do with something else. It's just something you didn't do, and you stayed. You could be together and not like each other for a long time.
But you're gonna be together.
But you're gonna be together. I mean, I was fortunate because I grew up with my stepfather, and I loved the way he loved my mother. I mean, I adored the way that man loved my mother. It was a grand lesson. And I hope I can do that one day. Of course, I still struggle because I don't, because he was magnificent and exemplary.
Why do you say you hope you can do it one day?
With the same willingness that he was.
I mean, you've been a dad for like 27 years.
And it took me a long time to, we were talking about earlier, what it takes to, when you're after your own career and trying to look after that, be mindful of somebody else's career and their choices and be respectful of it. Be mindful that I do have children that need to be paid attention to, but you like that school you go to, so I got to go to work. Yeah. You must understand if I can't be there at this time, this is why I can't be there. At the same time, looking to, what can I sacrifice? What can I not do so I can be there for them, for this. And that balance is hard to strike.
Man.
And for me, part of the balance is not feeling bad about it.
That's
it's
hard,
like it's like, okay, look, and it's not just I said I'm sorry, so don't feel bad. It's like I feel bad enough about it. And I'm not unwilling to talk about it, but we don't have to dwell on this because I can't take it back.
And you can't change it.
And there's some things you can change. Sometimes I can put in my contract, I have to have this day off. There are other times when you cannot say that. And that's just the way it is. So
I think too, one of the unspoken journeys of marriage is the sacrifices that we make, that we either kind of like, we do it thinking that it'll be fine and then it bothers us after. Or we do it not even fully understanding, the ramifications of it. And one of the things that you mentioned, Dionne, about him having more income, right? And I think there's reasons that women stay home that are just like, I want to be home. Can we make this work? Can we have that conversation? Or reasons that people stay home. And I'm trying to do better with that. And then there's, I think what you said is a very real conversation that a lot of couples have that you don't think about before you're in a relationship. If someone is the greater earner, what does that mean for how we compromise on the household and who takes care of what? What does that mean for how we compromise on my career? If I'm the other person, my career, my choices. And that's something that we don't even think about until we're in it, right? To lead the life we want to lead as a couple, as a family. And sometimes those sacrifices seem easy because of the lifestyle, but it's still like some of the things you said, you're giving up on, in some ways, your identity.
Yeah, when I was the latter of the two. I didn't realize what was coming with the sacrifice that I had made. I made that decision, and I made the decision to progress with my husband and start a family with my husband, but that came at a very heavy price for my well-being. So when I made the sacrifice, I was like, okay, great. It's time to move on to another part of my life because my job was traveling all over the place and we couldn't coexist. And it was that same thing. He played football. That's not going to stop. I'm not going to say, okay, you can leave the NFL now so I can keep touring. So I can keep touring with whoever I'm touring with at the time. That just wasn't realistic. So that decision felt like it was easy. But once I then got into it, the realization that not only did I just give up my career, but now my identity is completely linked to him. Like I don't exist as a human being anymore because everybody revered his job so much in the spaces that we were in that, like I said it in the show, they would call me Ephraim's wife. They would like knock, I had a breakdown one time because someone knocked on our door to bring me mail with my name on the mail. And it was like, oh, I know who you are, you're Ephraim's wife.
Well, at least you got his name. I get that actor's wife. Oh, Lord. That's that actor's wife.
It's so frustrating when you work so hard for something and you, like, being independent was such a huge part of who I was, to kind of let that go and try to find that in this space. I was in his world now. Yeah. So I had to find out who I was in his world. It took a real long time. Yeah. Took it out on him, probably more than I should have. But he was busy working. He didn't really recognize what I was going through until he came home and I was like, giving him, looking at him sideways, which is not even his fault. But I didn't realize I didn't realize I was making those types of sacrifices. And we didn't have kids at the time, so it was just me. I didn't have anyone else to focus my attention on. It was like it was all internal, it was all me.
The part that's my fault is this incessant need to just have you there. Right?
That existed.
That
existed.
Like I needed, so I met her, I was playing for the Broncos. When she was still dancing in the off season, she would come, stay with me in Denver. Off season, we'd hang out, I'd follow her on tour or whatever that is. Then I left Denver and went to Jacksonville. So she had to come to Jacksonville, right? And right around this time, she was like, maybe I'll keep dancing, maybe I won't. I left Jacksonville after 2 years and went to Houston. She comes to Houston. Now we're getting married. And I was like, well, I need you here. Like, you have to be here. But she didn't have to be there in the way that I thought I needed her there. And that's the part that's my fault. That's the part that bothers me because it came to a head when, towards the end of my career, I went to Detroit for one awful year. And she had to come to Detroit. So here we go. We move all the way out to beautiful suburbs, got a nice place, all of this. I only had one car out there. I would go to work. She'd be in this place by herself.
I was like,
with no one, we don't know anybody out there. And I come home and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Right? I've been doing my thing, I'm interacting. And she just sitting on the couch like,
that's what I didn't realize I was stepping into. That's what I didn't realize I was stepping into. And when I had to talk him off the ledge after the episode we watched, and I say it in the episode that I would have made that decision. Sitting here now, looking back, I would maybe have made a different decision. But in that moment, there are multiple things that made me choose to leave what I was doing. The last tour I was on wasn't like the work environment wasn't great. We were missing each other's calls because I would be in another country and our times were off, so we weren't speaking to each other and our relationship was suffering. So if I just went back to that space with what I had, I would make that decision again. It's only now, 18 years later, that I'm like realizing that, there was a lot of other things that came along with that sacrifice that I didn't realize. But
I have a weird question, guys. I mean, I think it's weird because I've never heard men say this, okay? So just go with it. Women, we talk about having it all. So the question to everyone is like, do you now have it all? Each of you. I know men, y'all don't really say it like that, but do you have all the things that matter to you? Is there something that you would change about your life now, your partnership, your career?
What's all?
Whatever that means to you. Whatever that means to you.
I have everything I need. Everything I need. And I've had everything I needed for a long time, even when I didn't think I did. And I'm learning more and more that, let me just watch my languaging here.
All right.
Right, because
I mean, the stuff and crap that I think I need is that's just what it is. It's just what I think I need. I don't actually need all that stuff. I mean, one of the things that would get on my nerves, she would say, "Do you need that? Did I buy it?
because he didn't need it.
Did I get it? Well, you asked me, what do I need it for? Do I ask you that when you buy your whatever you're going to buy?
I don't just randomly buy shit. Stuff. Can we do that?
You can say whatever you want. Okay?
Let it out. Let it fly.
It's like, oh, let that over. I don't get to
But
do
now,
that.
it's like now I'm much more discerning about, make those, just because I have a whim, an inclination, it doesn't mean I don't really all need that.
Yeah.
And and it takes it takes a minute to sort of get used to that, because you work so hard. Trying to just make sure everybody else is taken care of.
Yeah.
Now, all I want is this, and you're going to argue with me about that? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, and again, you got to watch the way you verbalize stuff.
Oh, you just verbalized.
You need that. Well, and again, you got to watch the way you verbalize stuff. Because many times when she she says, "Do you need that?" I mean, it's
like that.
Or she was like, "Why does it?"
With the whole head, the whole roll?
And even my daughters, why'd you buy that?
Right.
Excuse me?
Or a gift. Like he got a gift recently of something he already had, and we were like, give it to us.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Hand it over.
Oh,
You don't need
yeah.
that.
Give it to us.
Now you're grouped in with the daughter.
Yeah. We want it. That's when I group myself in with the daughters, when I want something.
Yeah.
I would say I have almost. I think I might have it all. Almost. We have one kid left, finishing her junior year. And so I have been slowly moving back into the working world. And I'm always stop and go, because I'm afraid of getting something really big.
Yeah.
And then missing her senior year, like missing the prom and because he, is working. Like the last big job I had, he was going to be home. I was gone for a month. I've never done that.
Right.
And then he got a job. And then suddenly I was a mess. Like I'm leaving, he's leaving. I've never been that person. I do not want to leave. I want to be a part of the process. I want to be at the milestones. I don't do well not being there.
You all met in theater.
We
both
met.
acting. And so we're saying, you're going back to working.
Right.
Now that the kids are leaving.
Right.
So really giving yourself some time to focus on you and the thing that you love.
But it's still hard.
Yeah.
Because if it's me having an audition, and if she says she needs to be at school and it's all at 2:00,
Yeah.
I'm like either not auditioning or pushing it. I'm not even asking him, which is not weird. I'm supposed to ask him. Mm-hmm. But I want to go to the event at the 2:00 school at 2:00, because I'm never going to have that again.
Right. I so relate to that.
So I say I almost have it all. I have a great family. I have great children.
Well, you wouldn't do it differently. You want to be there for the 2:00.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be there for the 2:00.
I would agree that I almost have it all. I'm still working. Our kids are still little, so they need us all the time.
All the time.
They're 9 and 6, so we have to do. I mean, they're fairly independent, but they're 9 and 6, so we still have to be
Independent,
very,
9 and 6.
And I'm the same way. Like, I want to be there for everything. There's nothing I want to miss. But there's a part of me that still wants to devote like 100% of my time to working or doing things for myself. And I'm the same way. If anything like that comes up, I won't even ask him to do it. I'll just do it. So it's funny that you say, like, I'm taking care of everybody else. I should be able, I feel the same way, but like for my household. So I'm not very good at taking care of myself. So I'm always checking in with everybody else. So I think if I could get the part down where being a little more selfish maybe, and then that will help my mental health sometimes a little bit more, then I would be a little bit closer to having it all.
Being selfish is
But I'm
real.
not very good at that.
I know I have to
all.
learn it. Setting boundaries, I think, is
There's
the best
a
interpretation.
very healthy part of selfish
Oh, 100%.
that you have to have. It's just that's why they tell you on the plane, put on your mask first,
Right.
Yeah.
and then help your wife, your kid, your neighbor, whoever you're gonna help. Because it doesn't help if you wear yourself out. And
Yeah, I know that in my mind. Like, if I think about that, I know it, but once I start going, I'm just so bad
I
at it.
constantly try to
so
force
bad at
her,
it.
like literally force her to take some time for herself.
Yeah.
And I said, baby, it's easy, especially during this pandemic. We all have been locked in the house, homeschool. Oh God, I'm not a teacher. God bless all the teachers out there. Okay, this is not.
Situation.
See, we're
I can't
lucky.
even do the new math.
I'm
The
telling
math
you,
is-
fourth
Heard about
grade
the new
math
math.
is the devil.
But I say, look, it's as simple as you saying, babe, can I have tomorrow? Can I have tomorrow? Where I can
It's
just
hard to
be
ask.
and
hard.
do, like she doesn't, and I've recently gotten her to, and she almost, and she's like, hey, so,
What are you doing tomorrow?
you know about that thing that you said I could ask for maybe? Right? Like, so I'm like, no question. And then I get militant. I'm like, I tell my boys, I say, if you go in that room, all right, no dinner, right? Like, I'm like,
so funny.
this is mommy's time.
Yeah.
Stay out of it because I'm constantly trying to, I want her to see her like we see her.
But I think part of that is because I did sacrifice my career, so any spare time I have, I'm trying to get back to that. And so I don't use my spare time to just do nothing and relax. I'm always trying to get myself back to a place where I feel like, we always talk about, like I'm contributing or, because I let all that go. So, I mean, it feels like 100 years ago now at this point, but it still kind of like lives in me. So I'm always like, any spare time I have, I'm working on my career because I don't want to let it go again.
Your current career, or are you looking to dance again?
Oh, those days are over.
Okay.
No, they're not. They
Those
shouldn't
days
be
are
over.
over. Those days are over. That ship has sailed.
Not really. I mean, you can still get on. I mean, we can get
I
you
mean,
to
I
the
can
boat.
still physically
we
do
can get you
it.
to the boat. I
If you
mean,
challenge
She's
me.
like, these hips
But
move.
no, it's the landscape's way too different now than when I was like, I would need an Instagram to have a dance career now, and I can't do that.
Child.
I can't do it. So, no, that ship has sailed.
So you said something, marriage is a constant negotiation. What are you all's best negotiating tips?
I would love to hear what you have to say.
First off, like if there's something you want to do, or you got to check the temperature in the room first,
jalapeno.
right? You got to, you know, it's a process, and every process is different because every relationship and every spouse is different, right? So hey babe, like, you know.
I can tell what you're doing.
She does, and they know, they're not. This is basically just for us, right? To make me feel,
do you
to make
want?
us feel better.
What do you want?
What do you want? Just tell me what you want.
And so I go,
You've called me babe like 12 times in the last 3 minutes. What do you want?
circling, I'm going around.
I don't need another glass of wine. Tell me what you want.
And the thing that I do, which I shouldn't do, but I wait till like the last moment. Like I may know 3 days in advance, and I'll
Or
wait.
3 weeks.
And I'll wait
You
till
should call
like
him because he knows better.
I'll wait like 2 hours before something.
I might be like you.
Because I'm like, and it'd be so much easier if I'm just like, hey, look, such and such, and I've gotten better.
Okay.
But what I will say is, don't just drop a bomb on your partner and expecting them to be open and readily available for whatever it is you're trying to do or you want to accomplish. I know that it's still hard for me not to do it, and I want to just say right here, I apologize, but I.
You got something to do later?
After this, I got somewhere to go. Just to
Sometimes I'm like the comedian. Sometimes you got to wake up in the morning and say, "I'm sorry, babe."
Just go.
For what? I don't know what I'm gonna do today.
I'm gonna mess up.
But whatever I'm gonna mess up today, I'm sorry in advance. But I would say, as much as possible, try to be as respectful as possible. So I try never to say words like never. Or you always.
Please, I like it.
And emphatic things like that, because nobody does things. Most of it you do a lot, but no one does things. And I know that you didn't go to bed last night thinking of ways to get on my nerves. Most, I just don't think people do. I'm practically sure that doesn't happen. It don't always feel like that. It's not, it doesn't feel like that. But I know that I have learned that feelings are not facts. I feel this way, and I feel like you just did that on purpose.
That's a hell of a statement. When you said that, I was like,
yeah, that's a aha moment.
I was like, ooh.
You can feel that way, but that doesn't necessarily make
I'm
it true.
using that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
He's gonna use the hell.
I'm gonna use it.
I know, you use it for your kids.
I'm using it for
Yeah.
This is like the problem with me is I'm not a good arguer. I never have been. She has a PhD in it. Like she knows how to do it. So I'm always like, I'm flustered. And I'm early on in our relationship, I would just say anything. I've learned to just keep it just hold it in.
Well, there's a gray area because not now, you've come to the gray area, but it would just be I'll say anything and then it was I'm gonna say nothing. So I'm trying to have a reciprocal conversation with you and you're like,
well,
looking at me like when are you gonna be done?
We've had those moments, mostly early on. We're going on 20
in 2 weeks. 20 and 2 weeks.
Married for 20, but we've been together for a
20,
couple of years.
20 something.
And
that's beautiful, by the way. Let's just acknowledge
Yeah.
that.
I know,
Okay,
my
let's just
Absolutely.
We're trying to get to you
we're
guys.
trying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there have been I can remember moments very distinctly. Well, aren't you going to say something? What are you going to say? And I said, well,
The mocking.
it's not mocking.
It's kind of.
It's not.
I'm not sitting here saying this.
You know. Difference between mocking and recreating reality. And
Semantics.
and I just have to say I cannot say anything now because you don't want to hear the sacker that's going on in my head because it's it wouldn't be respectful. It wouldn't be nice. And I don't want to poison the air with it because, there's no coming back from that. I've learned that on the set.
Yeah.
In my working environment, I can be mad as all get out, but if I'm mad at you, there's no reason why they got to be privy to that. It's none of their business. And once I make it everybody's business like that, then the whole atmosphere is poisoned. You never look at me the same again. Oh, how is he today? Is he gonna be, should I say hello? Hello? That's a ridiculous way to walk around and be around people. If I have something to say to you, I'm gonna say, excuse me.
Yeah, and that's kind of our household. We have I call them these Brady Bunch kind of family meetings where we're all in the living room and it's uncomfortable but we've taught them to tell us what's going on and to talk about their grievances, and even when it's about us, which is mostly about us. And the older we get, we're dumber. We get dumber and dumber every single day.
You're really dumb right now.
Oh my God, we're so dumb. We don't know anything about gender or, all of these things that we have to learn about. And we sit and discuss. And that's kind of how we have to navigate it. and then try and get through it and not be mad. You know, we can hold on to it for a little bit. We just got to be mad and we got to get over it. But you got to talk about it.
For the most part, I try also to live in my life. I'm not arguing about nothing.
That's not true. That's not
I mean, I'm not successful all the time.
right.
I'm certainly not successful all the time, but and that doesn't say that my inner landscape doesn't begin to show a little bit. I try not to let it out.
That's hard. I'm always talking to him about the energy that you bring into a room. Because you could, because your energy, if you don't want me to ask you what's wrong with you 12 times, then change. Your energy is just a hot mess right now.
Yeah.
And then when you walk into the room with like messed up energy and I don't know what's wrong, now everybody's mad. Because now the kids are like, what's wrong, Daddy? And you're like, nothing. And I'm like, babe, what is the problem? Nothing. And now we're mad. They don't know what's going on. So, like, energy is so big, and I don't think people realize how much weight it carries when you have it in a space that other people are in, because it could just mess everything.
Yeah.
Energy and tone.
Yeah.
And tone. Oh my
This tone
gosh.
here.
That's hard work though.
Sassy,
You know,
sassy.
both of those things, because they're what we come into our relationships with a lot of the times. But it's worthwhile work.
Oh yeah.
So that said, first off, my glass is empty, so I guess that means that we should wrap for the evening. No, I really appreciate you all, honestly, sharing your transparency around your journeys through sacrifice and compromise in your relationships, and, you know, shining a little more light on it for us tonight. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Amazing.
And those of you at home, thank you for watching. That means you already have the Black Love Plus app, but if you are watching at your homie's house, go on ahead and download it yourself. And also follow Black Love on all our social channels and our YouTube page. And yeah, we'll see you next week.